You have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Wednesday. Partly sunny skies, a daytime high near 41, overnight low of 31 under partly cloudy skies. Clouds, sunshine mixing for your Thursday with highs near 45. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. It's now time for Winging It with Sonia and Liv.
Hello, everybody. We're here for another Wednesday.
Yes, we are.
I'm Sonia from the West Banco Arena and Capitol Theater.
I'm Olivia with Visit Wheeling WV, and we're happy to be here today. We've got our girl, Lola. Thank you, Lola. Lola. Yes, it's Lola. Good to meet you.
Hey.
Lola.
I feel like it should be a cheer.
Yes, and it's very nice to meet you again this week.
America, if you haven't been outside today, it is beautiful. The
Sure
sun
is.
shining.
A little chilly, but still, it's beautiful, blue skies. Right, sunglasses are needed.
Yes, I'm totally loving it.
Yeah, but we have a special guest today.
We do.
One that's actually made us a little nervous.
Yeah.
Because she has her stuff together.
She's a powerful speaker. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
She has it together, and like I was joking with Biff, I said, not just like I make up my bed in the morning together. Like she's going to be able to tell you where that bed was made, the manufacturer, and she most likely is going to advocate why you should sleep in it.
She can probably bounce a quarter off the sheets.
Now, and I'm going to start with, if you haven't listened to the testimony on proposed changes to the poverty line calculation that Amy Jo Hutchinson spoke to Congress about, it's extremely powerful. And it touches everybody, do you know what I mean, in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's the first time I actually
was introduced to
her.
Her honesty and just everything, just about how, I mean, I asked somebody yesterday, I was like, I've been following a little bit about what Amy Jo says, like, so I was like, does she advocate just for like everyone? So tell us a little bit about yourself, Amy, just a bit, so people know, so you can tell people what you would like them to know, because we could talk a lot about our, how we think you're kind of like a Wonder Woman.
Thanks. I have lived here in the Northern Panhandle my entire life, which has been, a few decades, right? I'm quickly approaching 50. But I'm an organizer as my full-time job for Our Future West Virginia. And our mission is to build real grassroots power from the ground up. And so I organize from this frame of mind like nothing about us without us. And so what that means to me is that instead of going into a room full of lawmakers and talking about poor people, we're just going to bring the poor people in and let them tell their stories to you, because we truly believe that anyone experiencing something is the expert, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so my lived experience is poverty on several different levels. Like right now, I'm kind of like on the upper end of working poor, know?
Right. Who isn't? Who isn't? I said, who isn't in that category,
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Especially now, right?
Mm-hmm.
COVID has hit,
Mm-hmm.
There are so many of us struggling on so many different levels right now. And so one part of, I think my first big piece of activism came years ago as a parent at Ritchie Elementary, when I was upset because they were going to close down the pool. And so then I realized, whoa, if we as parents start talking to people, we can have an influence. And so, but like all of these government systems, I don't care if that's talking about safety net issues, which is primarily what my work focuses on, but like SNAP, Medicaid, TANF, HUD, that sort of stuff. But, even the education system, like, it's almost like people are, like, it's designed to kind of keep people on the outside, right? And so a lot of what I do through my work is to just empower people to say, hey, we do belong inside these systems. We do belong inside these, these rooms. We deserve, we're entitled equally to have the right to speak up on ourselves.
Not only speak up, but truly understand the process. Even if
Absolutely.
it's, even if it's like maybe the outcome isn't what you would agree with, you should understand the process of how they came to that conclusion. I mean, that's really important to me.
Yes, absolutely. And think about how many years it's been since I've been in a civics class, right? I mean, I just told you how old I was. So, I think it's something that we really need to pay attention to and make sure that we do understand. Maybe it's something we have to revisit, but I'm a firm believer that education is key.
Yeah, and understanding your community.
Yeah, and how it works.
Absolutely, yeah.
So one of the reasons why we brought you on today was because we wanted to hear about the Ohio County Parent Community Page.
Yeah, and how that was started, I don't know if you started it. I know I was brought in, I was invited by some other parents that I knew obviously on the page, and when I accepted it and invited others, there was only like 100 or so people maybe on there. And so Sonia just shared with me that you did created it, so there we go. There's only a few hundred people. Now it's really growing.
Tell us a little bit about why you started it.
Yeah, so for years I've worked with Sarah Kegler on a number of different levels. But I know that parent involvement is something that's it's needed. And a lot of times when we hear parent involvement, this was the part of my my delegation talk the other night, the board meeting that I didn't get to. But parent involvement doesn't end with Dr. Seuss night and buying booster membership. Right?
Right.
So, but that's how it's typically framed.
There is high praise for volunteering at Santa's Secret Workshop, though.
Yes, absolutely, right? I know, because I used to run a PTO, and
Right.
those are the coolest people out there, right?
Right.
So, but I get it. But I think, we really need to be honest about what does parent involvement mean? And I think it means a whole lot of different things. And, especially, like, my perspective is, to me, parent involvement means that I have to help advocate for what I think is best for my child. And I have two children who are very different. They have very different learning styles. They have very different learning needs. And so I think that, that's just been part of our discussion. And so I was talking to Sarah one day, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, my kids, this remote learning, like, this is awful. I'm failing. I wish there was just something. And so Sarah's like, hey, maybe this will be the best opportunity for us to really get parents together. I mean, it's hard to organize parents because we're busy, right? Like, I mean, we're constantly busy. We have sports practices and arts practices, and we have jobs, and we have, like, just life to do, you know?
Right.
And so that's kind of how it started. We just started the page in a hope that we could get people having conversations. What are your needs? Are you having trouble navigating? If you feel comfortable sharing, there's probably, someone else out here that's feeling the same way and experiencing the same things.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started.
And I think that it's achieved exactly that. I mean, the communication on there has, for the most part, been very positive and a place for people to share without concerns of judgment or, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Because we all know at this time there really isn't a right or wrong. I mean, the guidelines clearly show that, the inconsistencies. But, there's no right or wrong. It's really what you're achieving successes in and at that moment, I mean, I have a sixth grader and a second grader, and then I also have a 3-year-old. So there's lots of different emotions that go through every day. Some days I feel awful because I've devoted all my time into formatting Seesaw so that my daughter can do her work without, having to create a text box herself. And then I feel bad because I've neglected my sixth grader who actually might need help with actually doing a new math, assignment that is like a new idea that's being rolled out that week, and then I feel bad, and then I'm looking at her stuff like, why didn't you turn this in? She was like, well, I just didn't understand it. And I'm like, well, that's my fault too, so there's a lot of guilt, I think, as parents right now, and we're all sharing that on that page.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we talk about having to draw a text box with your finger
Well,
to put an answer on a worksheet?
how about fractions in a text? I mean, it's just awful.
I enjoy when there's like 50 math problems in this tiny little space in between each one. I'm like, yeah, he's going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I was like, I bought an Apple Pen thinking this is going to be golden. And then I'm like, is it even charged? Have we even used it in months? Because that second grader writing on a line that's made for like a font of 10 is not working.
Right. So some of the topics that have come up for debate have been virtual versus remote, and how moving forward things could change virtually. How does that impact your students, like your kids?
My perspective is I'm coming from the role of I'm the only parent. And my job, I was locked down in March, so I've worked from home since March. I'm kind of going to go in the weeds here for a second, but
That's fine. We live there.
That's why our show's called. That's why our show's called Ruin It.
Yeah.
I've always prided myself on being an involved parent. I mean, as the kids get older, that changes, right? But so like what you were talking about, that's truly me. Like I realize that I can't be all things to all people, and so there are times where my kids haven't been online because I need that Wi-Fi, I need that bandwidth because my job is on a conference call. Right. So like my perspective, I have a pretty narrow perspective because I know what my struggles are when it comes to this. But my kids I also signed them up at the beginning of the year to be in-seat learners. Because, I have a 16-year-old, like, she's at the height of her needs for socialization, and I have an 8th grader who she learns that way. She needs someone to be in front of her. She needs someone to be able to explain this in 10 different ways sometimes, and so I'm like the best thing for them and for me. Because I had to factor that in too, right? Like the best way for me to really be able to do my job and keep the lights on in the house is for me to have the freedom to do my job and keep the lights on in the house, right? So
I'm there.
I want my kids in school, and I think, especially with my older one, because she's in high school and a lot more involved. But she's a member of the marching band. She's a member of the steel drum band. She's a YP. And so to watch what's happened to her, because she's had all of those things taken away from her. Like she loves school, but she wants to be a music therapist. I mean, it's not just a hobby for her. She really wants to take all of this musical education and turn it into a profession and a career. And so to watch just, how disengaged she's become and how detached, it really breaks my heart. And then I'm thinking, well, again, that mom guilt. I think moms have guilt for just about everything, but I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I should keep my mouth shut about about asking for the hybrid to start. But then in my head, I'm like, I don't have health insurance, and we have my elderly mom living with us. So I know so many people right now today who have COVID. My sister-in-law's dad died from COVID not long ago. We have like friends in the family who have passed away from it. And so, to hear my daughter Grace spoke at that town hall the other night, and to hear her say that she wants to be in school, but she doesn't want to have to choose her grandma over her education, like to me, that broke my heart.
And sadly, that's what this virus has brought us all to, the sacrifices. A
part of me kind of wish that they would just, as much as I hate to say these words, not even started school this year. Until there was, answers, even just no one has the right medical answer yet. No one knows if the vaccine's actually going to stop the virus from getting to somebody. I just wish they would have just waited. I know that stings, and you can't really pause life in that manner, and obviously we didn't, but sometimes I think it would have been the better choice.
But now we are with still no answers and no finish line.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I agree.
I mean,
It's.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Amy.
No, I mean, this is due to change. That's the other thing. Like, even if, like the governor, he said something else today. Now he's saying, oh, wait on the West Virginia Department of Education, because we know they're having a big meeting this afternoon. I mean, so I have like such, I guess, empathy for the people who have to make these decisions, because no one is making a decision and sticking to it right now.
No. And,
so how do you proceed?
And every decision that is made, there's always going to be the disagreeing with that decision and why it was made and why it's foolish, and it comes back to personal circumstances. I'm in this, when we chose to send our kids back to school, and we made sacrifices. Okay, so we're not going to see one whole side of my family because, they are of high risk and the virus makes them extremely uncomfortable. But I put it out there like, hey, we love you guys. We hope to see you, but it's going to be on your terms because I don't know what can happen with my kids being in school and what we can bring to you. And I can't live with that thought. So this is, us seeing you guys will be on your terms, not ours. My door's open, but I can't. I'm not coming around. And we are going to make that sacrifice again if school can resume in some way, shape, or form. What that looks like, we can only hope it's something, But
Absolutely.
As much as I'm, going to be sending my kids back to school, I'm not pleased with the changes to the virtual schooling that can be made. I understand why they need to have some changes, but I'm a realist knowing that I can go to school on Tuesday, be exposed on Wednesday, and be out for 14 whole days, and then where do we sit with school?
Yes, and I think the interesting thing about that parent group is, we tried a few times to get conversations started, and they never took off. Right? Like, so it's just like the post landed, and everyone just whatever, and they went on. But there is something about this change to the reentry plan this time. That's when that page really took off. And I noticed the other night we have over 300 members. And to me, that's just like, wow, when did that happen? Because like you said, we from like, I think one time I looked at the 70 some, and then it popped to over 100, and now it's up to over 80. I'm like, but as an organizer, the one thing that I know is that they're willing to take a bigger risk when their hearts are absolutely broken and they're weary.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's what's happened here. And I think, like you said, there were just so many changes, and no one was asked to participate in that on a big level. I never solicited, and so I think that's one of the purposes of the handful of parents who went to speak in person the other night was, we all have different circumstances and we all have a different story to tell, and we just need to know that the decisions that are being made are taking all of these into consideration.
Yeah, and I do feel for our board and Dr. Miller and everybody with the Board of Education, because these are all such hard decisions to make, and I don't even know where I would start.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the reason that everyone was so mad at the board was because they called it snow day?
Right. I'm in tourism, and we giggle all the time thinking that 2020's biggest obstacle was going to be the I-70 construction. And now we're like, oh, that's already over. And now look at us, still in a hole.
I wouldn't want that job at all, but I do think that, on the flip side of that, I think that we have an opportunity to really, I think the town hall went well the other night when the parents invited the board, and I think that we have a real opportunity now to, I'm not going to say partnership because I'm not that naive,
right,
but an opportunity to really build a relationship and to kind of, what would it look like if we did feel as if we had input and were seen. Right? That's what we want. We want seen. We want to be seen.
And not like, not just to disagree though. I think that people think when you open up the lines of communication and everybody has a different opinion, that it's going to be toxic. And some people take it there, but I think it's important that it doesn't go there because we're not hurting ourselves here. We can complain all day long. We graduated, we were able to do anything we wanted in school without, we had snow days without worry and everything like that. It's our kids right now. It's affecting everything. So as long as we continue to argue and create these toxic, secret, you know what I mean? Like conspiracies, I guess, with how everybody are kind of not, like some people just go to social media just to see what they can disagree with. You know what I mean? And I like this page because there is a lot of people that's like, oh no, we have to work together in order to make this work. So I think that if anything, the partner, whatever word we use, just communication and know that it's okay that we may not agree with even each other on what it is, but we still should be able to communicate why we want more answers or why more transparency is key. Because let's face it, we're mama bears. This is our kids. This isn't just like,
It's bigger than us. It's something that when we're stressed out, it goes down to it trickles down to our kids, and then our kids see our depression, they get depressed.
Right.
And the stress levels they're through the roof right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether, and everyone wants to pretend sometimes it's a hunky-dory situation at home. Mm-hmm. I don't know how.
Right.
I'm serious.
Dysfunction lies within every corner of our house right now. And we're making the most of it. And I say every day I'm proud of the resiliency my kids have, but it's tough. It's tough.
Well, Amy, we're going to go to a break real quick, and we're going to hop back on right after this commercial break, okay?
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks.
You're listening to The Watchdog. Please support the sponsors that support this station.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota pre-owned